Super Helldive made super easy. That's why we're here today. Hey everyone, I'm Night Haro, and today I'm going to explain to you the 5 things that you need to do to make Super Helldive missions super easy. And spoiler alert, your skill as a player and the individual skill of your various teammates is the lowest priority on this list. It is one of the least important things for any Helldive mission. And if you don't believe me, I've got plenty of live streams here on YouTube of full clearing Super Helldive maps. And I've also got videos, and I'll link some of these in the description, of where I failed, where we did not do a good job, and oftentimes I'm the one not following my own rules, making it more difficult for my entire team. All right, so first up here is going to be basic squad tactics, okay? This is going to be those things like staying together as a group, covering each other. So many times I see when a group moves out from a point, they leave one person behind, okay? Don't leave anybody behind. Whenever you're the second to last or what have you, you need a leapfrog, okay? So if they're at the back and they're getting chased by a bunch of enemies, or if you're at the front and you see that your allies are getting chased by a bunch of enemies, turn around and offer them some cover fire, okay? Help them out so that they don't have to run and gun themselves. This is something you see in every single, action movie you've ever watched where they're following like basic best practices. Just move as a group, leapfrog each other, and offer covering fire. The other thing is calling your targets. Everyone in the squad does not need to be focusing down the same guy at the same time. That's just absolutely wasteful, and you'll quickly run out of stratagems, and then you'll get overwhelmed because you don't have the resources you need. And I will say, if you're on Helldive or Super Helldive and you want to solo, all you got to do is go into the menu and set it to private. That's all you have to do. But not doing that and letting people join your group whenever you have no plans of actually participating at all with anybody else in your group is really just setting everybody up for failure. What they're going to do is not be with you and probably get overwhelmed because you got a trail of enemies that you're running across the map and they're not up there with you. And so they're just getting wailed on, eating up your reinforcement budget and not having a good time. And it's not going to work out well for anybody in the group. So stay together, cover each other, just basic squad mechanics. And the other thing is you need to communicate. Absolutely, you need to communicate. And I don't even mean talk. You don't even have to talk. If you hit Q, you can ping an area on the map. If you hold it down, this is at least on mouse and keyboard, you can choose several options. Yes, no, follow me, ping a place. There's all kinds of stuff. And dropping supplies, or I need supplies. Plenty of things you can communicate without even having to talk, and it's actually relatively easy. But if you just communicate just a bit, let people know what target you're going for, let people know where you're going, what your plan is, what have you, it will make things so much easier, I promise you. I cannot tell you how many times I've been on a Helldive or Super Helldive mission, we complete the objective, I think we're doing okay, and then one person goes west, one person goes east, and I'm standing there in the middle going, oh my god, I don't know what to do. There's enemies closing in on both guys, both groups, and I just gotta pick some direction and go that way. And typically those people are doing the same thing that I just talked about, where they're just running ahead. No one's offering cover to anybody. I was trying to figure out which direction we're going, so now I'm behind, and it's just frustrating and doesn't work well for anybody. So again, communicate. If you want to run solo, set it to private and hit record if you want to show the world what an awesome Helldiver you are, and you can run around on solo on Super Helldive and not have any problems. But you don't need to pull 3 other people in so they can be your captive audience and just burn out your reinforcement budget. Anyways, it's not fun for anybody. Trust me. And the third thing here, which really deserves its own video, which actually I've made one, I'll link it at the end, but complementary loadouts, okay? So there are 3 groups of enemies you really need to be concerned about in Helldivers, and you might be thinking it's heavy, medium, and light, and it kind of is, but not really. So hear me out. First up is heavies, okay? When I mean heavies, I mean things that you do not have a weak point here. So I am not talking about chargers and palers and hulks and things like that. No, I mean the factory striders that have very few weak points. Yes, technically underneath them is a weak point, but not really. And then Bile Titans, okay? These are things that you really need specific weapons. You might need to use stratagems, what have you. These are things that you really need to make sure that you have, especially in the higher difficulties, that you have everything you need to be able to take care of them and in the numbers that you're going to run into. Again, you might not be the person running all these things. Someone might particularly specialize in one of these. Rail Cannon Strikes also, although it's on a fairly long cooldown, works really well. So, these are the kind of things that you want to make sure you have enough of in your group. And if you stay together, it's fine if you particularly or one of your allies doesn't have those things, as long as somebody in the group is, ideally several people. The third thing is complementary loadouts, and this actually deserves its own video where I'll go in more in depth, and I've actually made one here. I'll link it at the end of the video. But the idea here is that if you're on Helldive or Super Helldive, you really need to be able to take out those factory striders and those bile spewers, and you need weapons that are generally dedicated to that. So things like the EAT, things like the recoilless rifle, things like the spear, what have you. There's various stratagems and various things, but you just need to make sure you have enough in your group to take care of all those things. And again, this goes back to the other things: squad mechanics, staying together. So even if you or one of your allies doesn't have the things to deal with those things, somebody in the group will. And then communication, so you don't all three rain down on one target and overkill it, right? Because then you're going to run out of resources. If you have everybody in a group and you have a mixed loadout between your group to be able to cover all the things you need, you have more than enough firepower to easily clear Super Helldive. I'm serious. If you don't believe me, again, I have videos here on YouTube. You can go take a look at the live streams, okay? And then you can go look at the ones where we didn't do as well, and you can see that I didn't follow all of the rules that I'm going to be giving you today. Now, the second thing is going to be medium and heavies with weak points, okay? These can generally be taken out by a much wider group of weapons and stratagems. So here we're talking about things like Hulks, Impalers, Chargers, the traditional tanks. They have the pretty easy to reach weak point and what have you. There's a wide range of weapons that can take all of these things out, and you need to make sure that this is covered. This is the second most important category. And then the third is all of the lighter and smaller things that are fairly easy to kill, but which there's a lot of. So you really need efficiency, okay? Because you can kill them with just about anything, but there's so many of them. You need to make sure you're not going to run out of ammo. You need to make sure they're not going to overwhelm you because you're using, a single action shotgun. That's not going to work on hell diving difficulty. If all three people in your group have a single action shotgun, you're just not going to be able to kill things quickly enough. So planning for that is really important. If you can do that and make sure that you have properly overlapping weapons and you've got everything covered from the heavy, starting with the heavies, then those heavies with a weak spot and kind of the medium armored allies, and so on and so forth, you're going to be just fine. And again, this goes all the way down to something like maybe running an incendiary grenade to help deal with that AoE. I recently saw that. I was in a group, we were running Helldive, running bugs, and I saw that, hey, everybody's got stun grenades. Let me swap this up and grab an incendiary. That will help me to fulfill my role in the group and help keep all those small adds down, and so on and so forth. Now, the fourth thing here is going to be stratagem use and conservation, okay? This is, again, goes back to the communication. You don't want to throw down, 320 mils in the exact same area. I have been in groups where I was one of the people that did that. We all had the exact same idea at the exact same time, and we didn't talk fast enough. We all threw them out and kind of wasted it. Now, if you're continually doing that and you're overkilling enemies, dropping way more stratagems on them than you really need to, you're going to end up in a bad situation. So again, communicate, conserve. You have plenty to use if you have 4 people in a group. So just make sure you're not wasting things. And if you're heading into one of these larger nests, you can also save those stratagems as you can, and then everybody can dump on them at once. And it makes clearing out these big hives, these big bases, fairly easy if you do it right. At least as easy as it can be. It's still going to be difficult, of course. And then the last thing here is individual skill. A lot of people think you've got to be awesome to be able to do Helldive or Super Helldive. You really don't. There is a minimum skill you want to have. You want to be able to stay alive. You want to be able to kill, one-on-one you with a Hulk. You should be able to take it out. You should know how to do that. Typically, that's a stun grenade, and then whatever weapon you're using to take out that Hulk. But whatever you use, you should be able to do that without having to use one of your big major stratagems on those heavy units that have weak points, okay? That's very important. But once you have the minimum skill level, listen, I am not that good. And you can see that we have full cleared entire maps, all 3 maps with a group of organized people that, again, not all of us are that great. Not all of us have that much experience, but we stick together and we follow these 5 rules. Anyways, that's it for today. If you want to learn more about complementary loadouts, I will leave a video right here and you can go check it out there. Thanks everybody for watching. We'll catch you in the next one.